All right, so it is Monday, October 11th, Canadian Thanksgiving. And I just finished sifting a bunch of compost. I don't know, it's about 9 o'clock. Colleen's doing some work. And I was thinking, of course, while doing composting about random stuff. And we finished a video last night, just like a little garden tour. And she asked me, what was my favorite thing in the garden, and I said cucamelons. But I wanted to say, and this is always the answer, is her. um, yeah, so to get into the story we have to go back. So when I met Colleen, um, a long time ago, um, she lived in a place, I lived in another place, and she had a garden, a little garden. Like, they grew potatoes, and she had this crazy hippie neighbor, or no, crazy hippie roommate, and they grew like potatoes out of old dresser drawers or dressers and stuff, and tires and things like that. So I thought it was kind of interesting, but not my thing for sure. And then fast forward a couple years, we ended up living together, and it was awesome. Like, just loved it. Our was awesome. It still is awesome. But we live in an old character home in south of Victoria. Just a few steps away from the water. There's a big yard there, and Colleen, being Colleen, started gardening, and I had really kind of no interest at all. I didn't know a flower from a weed. I didn't understand why weeds were bad, other than they look like kind of cack. But yeah, I had no idea about gardening, and she would always be out there tootling, gardening. I would go off golfing or be with my dad, and all that kind of jazz. So the garden was pretty amazing. Like, she had hundreds of pots, and, well, not hundreds, but a ton of pots. Tried to grow like tomatoes and other little things that didn't really work because it's just too close to the ocean and it gets too cold. And we had two apple trees, a beautiful garden right beside our stairs that shot up. She actually made, her and her mom and her dad, and I kind of begrudgingly helped a bit, made a deer fence to keep the deer out, because deer are a real problem here. And it was beautiful. We had a tea party there after we got married a few months later, and like all our family and friends came, and it's just beautiful. Like, the yard was nicely manicured. There was I know now that there was like dahlias and zinnias, but I had no idea back then what any of that stuff was. And a butterfly bush, a really nice butterfly bush. And yeah, it was a great time. And my dad was still pretty healthy at that point. And, my sisters were there. My one sister was there. My mom was there. A bunch of other people, and it was just a great time. And so, as the years passed, things happened in our family, and Colleen just, no matter what was going on, would just continue to garden. And I never really thought much about it. It was just one of those things that I was into golf. I had a bunch of stuff going on with other family members and stuff. So a lot of times I come home from golf, or it was the hospital, or an appointment with a family member, and she'd be out in the garden. And like, she would ask me for help, and I was just sure. But the main thing for me was just like, get it done, and then go back inside, because I was completely tired or wrecked or whatever it was. And And yeah, so the garden continued to grow, uh, mostly because of her. I'd move a few pots and tear out some weeds and plants at the same time because I had no idea and I had no interest in knowing. It really wasn't something that I enjoyed doing at all. Um, and then last year, the place that we rent got bought by developers, and they do what developers do, and tear down things and build new things. So all the pots had to be moved. Uh, Luckily enough, we were able to bring them over to Clive's place and transplant them. So that was the first thing that went. Then the apple tree blew down, and all the lilies that were below it got destroyed. And then, construction started happening. There's a huge dumpster that showed up in our driveway that mowed down a bunch of plants. And then they started just throwing dirt onto, like excavated dirt. They were digging perimeter drains and sewage lines and all that kind of stuff. And they just threw it right onto the flower bed and just buried all this beautiful stuff. And there was one day where I came home, it was after golf, and I wasn't in a great mood, and she was out there with our neighbor Susan, who's awesome. Susan, you're awesome. And they were trying to dig up, it was, I think it was a fuchsia, but it might have been something else. And I was just inside, and I went outside, and she was there with Susan, and I could tell that she was, she wasn't the regular bubbly Colleen. So I went down, and I asked if I could help, and she's like, yeah, we just need to get these up. Yeah. Is it lilies? Might have been lilies. Might have been lilies? I think they're called lilies. Anyways, yeah, so we dug them up. And no, they're not lilies. They're irises. They were irises, beautiful blue irises. They're just, I'm looking at them right here. We brought them over here and transplanted them. But anyways, I digress. And yeah, so I helped her dig it up, and we put them into bags and all that kind of stuff. And she was out there talking with Susan, and I said, do you need anything else? And she's like, nope. And I went back in the house. And I was thinking, like, this isn't good. This isn't good. And she came back in shortly after. And I was on the couch watching God knows what, probably golf. And she just came behind me and hugged me. And she started to cry. And Colleen's cried maybe 3 times in the whole time I've known her. Not that crying is a bad thing, but she is like the most positive person that I've ever known by miles. Everything that went on with my dad, my sister, other family members, she always had a positive outlook, and she was as low as I had ever seen her. And I asked her what was wrong, and I'll never forget. And she said that with everything that's gone on in the last few years in our family and hers, but mostly my family, the garden was always something that she had something to look forward to, and now that had been ripped away from her, that she had nothing to look forward to. And at that point, so I mean, we talked a little bit, and I tried to do what I could. And she went and had a shower, and I just thought at that moment to myself, you a-hole, or I was just really upset with myself that I didn't pay more attention to something that she loved so much. I wasn't even really like aware of the reason why she loved to garden. So at that point, it wasn't like I vowed to myself or any of that kind of stuff, but it, like it was just kind of like I realized how important it was to her. So that was early spring. I think it was early spring of last year. So I decided that the last 5 years had been all about me and my family, and my golf and all this kind of stuff, because at that point, like it was so crazy with us, our family, that golf was kind of like the only release that I had. Like if I wasn't at the hospital, I was at home trying to recuperate from being there, or I would get out and golf a couple times a week, and just be able to forget about all the BS and everything that came with that. But at that point, I decided, the woman I love the most in this world loves to garden, and we don't have a garden, but we have an awesome brother-in-law, and with a big yard, and he likes to look at beautiful things. So it was pretty easy for me to see that let's get going on this. Like, she likes it. We've already started bringing things over. let's bring everything over and really try to grow stuff, or I mean, not even grow stuff, like just to do what she likes, whether it's weeding or I mean, there's just a million things you've seen on like the videos of the things that we've been able to do together, and all that. So yeah, there's a beautiful garden here at my brother-in-law's place, and it's great. But the best thing about it is just doing the work together, being able to hang out, and whether it's creating a bed or making new beds, dividing bulbs, planting stuff we have no idea it's going to grow. Like to me, that doesn't even matter. What matters is that it makes her like really happy. So yeah, I just thought, while flipping compost or screening compost today, I was just thinking about that. And I don't know if we'll ever put this up on YouTube or not. Maybe. But yeah, my favorite thing in this garden is definitely Colleen. Definitely. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.